would make it this far. They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the pieces. I got them picking up the pieces. That me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitted for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. We on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get right. Cause it can get please don't play no games with me, I promise I'm too much. Ay, I can never let up even if you had enough. Ay, this ain't for the faint of heart, we always playing rough. I had enough, it ain't luck. I needed a vision, I needed ambition, I needed a mission to beat in submission with no intermission. I see the collision, the crash in the distance, they coming off track, no. Now when they ask what's the motive, don't talk about the show. They all about to see what I mean in the moment. I gotta keep going, I'm shaking the dice and I'm keeping it rolling, they already know. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. We on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the song. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get right. Cause it can get right. Cause it can get right.
Tapped in. Salute, ATP. What's goody, man? Last minute pop up. You know how we carry it. Man, I had it. Today's show was such an interesting show. We talked a lot about Moses Itauma. We tapped into this kid's potential. We tapped into who do we compare him to, the direction that we see his career going in, and ultimately at this point, looking like he's about to be potentially get an opportunity to test himself at the highest level. And is he over his head? Is he over his head when it comes to this? I thought it was an interesting conversation, you know what I mean? And I wanted to continue it, you know what I'm saying? And also wanted to speak a little bit on this Israel Madrimov commenting on Terence Crawford. We're getting closer to it, right? 25 days out, 25 days out. You do the math. I don't know. Somewhere in that direction, how close we are to this era-defining fight, potential era-defining fight. And the questions are starting to come out. We went through the Conti, the jacket of potential performance enhancement drug abuse by Terence Crawford. We got past that part, right? I'd like to believe we're somewhat past that part. We've seen Terence Crawford bulking up. He's putting on weight, but he's looking like he's in good shape. But the intangibles that he brings into the fight, are those intangibles going to be compromised by this huge weight influx, this huge amount of weight that he's putting on? He's bulking up in a weight to where is his athleticism going to suffer from this? Is his agility and his quickness going to be affected by this? Israel Madrimov commented on this. And he says, and he believes that what Terence Crawford brings to the ring and what issues he brought to him in the ring when they fought at 154, he's kind of concerned, I guess. Maybe he's concerned, or is he just giving his opinion at the end of the day to say that if this is compromised, if he does slow down, this is going to be a horrible fight for him to get into. I brought in a homie, you know what I'm saying, a member of the channel who's actually been returning over and over again and building with me on this boxing conversation. And I brought in a guest host today. You guys give it up for your boy Angelo Reyes in the building.
Hey guys, thank you. Been a fun conversation. We really had a real good one.
I think we got a little bit of a bad connection. Well, we'll wait for Angelo to figure it out. in coming full circle. Okay, you're good now. You're good now. You're moving around.
Am I good? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. I was saying a great show earlier this morning, as you always do it. Super early, 6:30 Pacific time for some of us, man.
Early.
But no, great conversation. We definitely talked about Moses Itauma. Canelo Crawford is the hot topic. And I want to say, if you guys have not seen the report yet, Dana White was just on live. He announced the undercards, which we have been saying, Claymore, for people to just be patient, man. Like everybody getting upset. And again, I still believe it's not over yet. But so far, Turkey has delivered in 10 fights for the Saturday. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the 10 fights is as follows. On the main card, this is going to sound like a UFC card, by the way, guys. But on the main card, you have Canelo Crawford, as we know, is the main event. Caleb Walsh versus Fernando Vargas Jr. is on that main card. Again, we talked about how, because this is the 300 million global subscribers on Netflix, they needed to involve a lot of countries in this. All right. And this is going to the mainstream fan, not even a casual boxing fan. This is going to the mainstreams. So they need to see what global boxing kind of looks like currently right now. So we have Caleb Walsh, who's Irish, Fernando Vargas Jr., who's Mexican-American. They're fighting each other. Christian Mbili, who is Haitian, Canadian, speaks French from Montreal, and is the current WBC interim champion at 168 pounds, a possible challenger to the winner of Canelo Crawford. He's fighting Lester Martinez from Guatemala, one of Crawford's sparring partners, and kind of a Guatemalan version of Canelo Alvarez. Then you also have Muhammad Al-Akel, who just scored a first-round knockout in Riyadh this past Saturday, and you guys saw him do the backflip a la Gervonta Tank Davis after the knockout. He's fighting a 10-round fight against probably his toughest test in John Ornelas. And then, remember, Claymore, how everybody was getting mad. Oh, man. Oh, this is terrible. Again, pump your brakes, because Dana White just went on live today, and here is the free preliminary cards, y'all. This is free on YouTube. Even the NFL doesn't do this for you. This is all free, baby. So you don't even have to have Netflix. So for all the people that have been hating on Canelo Crawford and how boxing is criminal and they trying to rob the hard-earning money of the people, this is free on YouTube. So unless you don't know how to go on YouTube, this is free. But here it is. Sergey Bochek versus Brandon Adams. Now I get it. To the casual fans, they're not going to know who this is. You and I know who these are, Claymore.
Yes, we do.
But the reason why you're seeing this fight, ladies and gentlemen, Sergey Bochek versus Brandon Adams, is, look it up. About 4 years ago, Brandon Adams and Sergey Bochek, when he was on the rise as one of the most talented boxers coming up, it was a hell of a fight, and he got knocked out. Bochek got knocked out by this American, which again goes to my point, Claymore. How come we don't know more about Brandon Adams? You know, that's for the people to decide, and probably PBC, but I won't go on that rant. Now, also on this card is Ivan Ditchko versus Jermaine Franklin Jr. Now, for all of you guys who are familiar with Jermaine Franklin Jr., he was on the come up. He gave rounds to Joshua, and then he recently got robbed by Dillian White, some people say, in that fight over there in the UK. He won in Detroit, but he's finally getting a global opportunity to showcase his skills. Unfortunately for Jermaine, we're going to find out if he's good enough to be in the top 15 again or not, because he is fighting, sir, Ivan Ditchko. Now, let me explain to you people who have not watched Kazakhstani boxing, because right now one of the best boxers in the world is Janibek. He's from Kazakhstan. Right. Earlier today, we had our guy Shelton defending Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, who we know is one of the best we've seen. He's from Kazakhstan. But this guy, Ivan Ditchko, if you're not familiar with him, let me explain this. This is a heavyweight fighter who was 6'9". You heard me right, Claymore. He's taller than Tyson Fury. 6'9", brother. Now, you might say, oh, this guy ain't nobody. He's a 2-time bronze medalist. He won the bronze in 2012 in London, the same year that Zhilei Zhang won the silver and Anthony Joshua won the gold. He also won the bronze, sir, in Rio in 2016, the same year that Filip Hrgović won the silver and Joe Joyce won the gold. So this isn't a nobody, man. This isn't a nobody. He's currently 14 wins, undefeated, 13 by knockout. He just won in August.
Wins, 14 knockouts at this point.
Oh, is that what it is? I was reading 14 wins and 13. Sorry about that. So anyways, Ivan Ditchko versus Jermaine Franklin. That's a banger. And again, if you're going to complain, you can shut up because it's free on YouTube. Reito Tsutsumi, who we have now seen, sir, on the New York card. He's probably one of the more exciting fighters we saw in Times Square, right, Claymore? 100%. Then we saw him again on Louis Armstrong. One of the more exciting fighters on the Louis Armstrong, scored a knockout on that Shakur Stevenson, William Safeda fight. So we're going to see him again against Javier Martinez of the United States. Then we got
That's going to be a really good fight, period.
That is going to be a really good fight.
That's really
going to be a really good fight. We're going to see Sultan Al Mohammed. And again, of course, KSI, and for all you people who don't know what KSI is, that's the Kingdom of KSA, I'm sorry. That's the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Of course, we're going to see some KSA fighters in here, man. Turkey's funding it. So that's the second KSA fighter that we see. Sultan Al Mohammed versus Martin Caraballo. And then Stevie Nelson, man. You got to see some Terence Crawford fighters in here. Stevie Nelson, the second of the Terence Crawford group. Stevie Nelson's helping Terence Crawford fight right now. He's in a pretty tough fight with the Cuban, Raico Santana, sir. And then Marco Verde, who won the silver medal, I believe, in Tokyo. If I'm not mistaken. He won silver in Tokyo. Marco Verde, they're saying he's the guy that's going to take over for Canelo. He's on a TBD to be determined right now. So, again, man, 10 fights. 6 of them are free on YouTube. So, like I said, this is feeling like a UFC card already. There's probably going to be 3 more added, if I'm being honest, because UFC usually does early prelims also. What do you think so far? Claymore?
Listen, we're talking about ushering a new era of boxing, right? We're talking about a super active exposing of boxing on the broadest level. And if they bring this UFC business model in here where they're stacking these prelim cards and you're watching 10, 15 plus fights, this one to be spread over a couple of days. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be more fights announced as we get closer, because they're talking about stacking fights up for Thursday, Friday, and going into Saturday. So this is going to be epic. This is going to be changing the energy of boxing in a huge way. Dana White obviously being part of this as well. The production is going to be A1, and I'm wondering, is this something we can count on? Is this the new regular, right? I know this is a special event, but Dana White is also ushering in TKO and Zuffa boxing and all that. Do you think this is going to be pretty much what we can expect? This magnitude, this level of rollout for these big fights?
Yes, sir. I mean, let's put it to you this way, right? What just happened last week? The UFC got paid $7.7 billion to be free on television on CBS and Paramount Plus in 2026.
Right.
Now, the same company that owns the UFC now also has owned Zuffa Boxing, and Zuffa Boxing is the main promotions for this Netflix card, right? We know that Netflix is heavily involved in Canelo Crawford, and in all honesty, they're heavily involved in boxing now. They're working with Jake Paul and the Most Valuable Promotions Group. They're working with Dana White and that group. So I think this is the new norm, if we're being honest. I think that we're going to start seeing free on YouTube, right? We're going to see free cards like this on YouTube. We're going to see free on Netflix, right? Where it's going to get back to the times, Claymore, where boxing was free for people like me and Shelton when we were growing up. Boxing was free, man. It was just regular old free. In fact, I'll tell you this. This is a fun little trivia for most people. If you love the NFL and you like that Monday Night Football theme, I bet most of you don't know that was a boxing theme. NFL football took it, but that used to be the opening theme.
I didn't
and
know
if you
that.
look back at some Sugar Ray Leonard fights, that's how they opened it. That Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. That was for a Sugar Ray Leonard fight, bro. They used that for boxing.
And I think we were talking about a little bit earlier. First of all, let me shout out to CJ Rich 7720 with the $5 howl in the building. Appreciate the support for the channel. Says, what up, Clay and Ray? Has been rocking with you for a few weeks now. 6:30 is early, but the channel is worthy, man. I appreciate you. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. That means a lot, man. I appreciate the support. Yeah, man, passion for the sport to say the least. But we were talking a little bit earlier, and you sent me the Thriller in Manila, right?
Yes, sir.
I won't hide that, I didn't see that fight, right? I didn't see that fight, not in its entirety, right? Highlights and things of that nature, but I watched it, and just to see the magnitude of the fight, knowing that a casual space always had an opportunity to jump into this sport and experiment, right? Watch it. Didn't have to pay a pay-per-view, some outlandish amount of money to watch a fight. They were able to watch it for free, and that grew the sport. And we were talking earlier about the tilling of the soil, right? Now that what Saudi Arabia is actually bringing to the table is they're not concerned about the profits. They're not trying to nickel and dime and charge you for all of this, get in on the pay-per-view money, get in on all these different business models that have failed at this point. But what they're doing is they're returning back to a time in boxing where a lot of fans could watch it and ultimately grow this sport into what it's supposed to have been to, right? There's an argument out there to say that the sport was supposed to be way bigger than it is now. People have been asking the question for years, why is boxing look like it's been heading down this trajectory? Why has it been falling to the side? Why isn't it as popular as it used to be? Well, I think it was always popular. People wanted to watch it, but there was always a cost affiliated with it. There was an amount of extortion going on with the sport, and it didn't do the sport any favor. It didn't do any of the fighters any favors. I would say there's also an argument there to say the heavyweight division in America suffered greatly, because would you agree or disagree with me that a lot of athletes who maybe would have went into boxing might have chose to go into football or other sports, you know what I mean, that where they had more of upwards movement. There was no ceiling on them because boxing in America was so strangled and was suffocating underneath all these business models that it wasn't even worth it. So we saw a heavyweight division just fall to the side, and we saw hardly any fighters come out the heavyweight division. Where are you on that in the growth of this sport, and how much is needed for the access to be way easier for the casual fan to access it?
Yeah, and you and I have had this private conversation before, but when it comes to the United States of America in general, right? Boxing was our thing. That was us. That was us all day. We had the best fighters in the world. You can name the decades, right? And even, what is it? Still to this day, the greatest boxing team ever put together was the United States team in 1984 with all those gold medals. Virgil Hill won a silver, right? Crazy times. Then we got to the Mike Tyson era, right? And Mike Tyson was just, I mean, that's your guy, Claymore. So I can't even begin to tell you how.
Really, Roy Jones is my guy. Like that's right. My guy. But Mike,
in your early, when you were a kid, when you were a kid playing Mike Tyson's Punch Out, you know what I'm saying, right? Like as a Raider fan, and you guys see the hat. Bo Jackson was like that to me, right? Like Bo Jackson was on the video game. We absolutely loved it. So Mike Tyson was that guy. But also, unfortunately, what started happening around that period going into the 90s is the pay-per-view era, right? Now, between pay-per-view, which is making it not accessible to the fans, right? I'm trying to remember when Tuesday night fights on USA Network, for all of you guys who are old enough to even remember USA Network, free television, Tuesday night fights with Sean O'Grady. I think that might have ended maybe in the very early 90s. I'm trying to remember. Shelton would know this if he was on the panel. But then pay-per-view, so boxing became inaccessible. So once it became inaccessible for regular people to watch, if you're raising a child and you're trying to push them to a sport, right?
Right.
What are you seeing on TV? You're seeing basketball, you're seeing football, you're seeing baseball, right? So when you're talking about athletes who are big enough, who are getting into the 5'11s, the 6 foot talls, 185, 175 pounds, 180, 200, they start getting pushed to all the other sports, Claymore. They're not getting pushed to go into boxing at this point, right? Now, not to say that boxing was necessarily dying, because we were seeing a lot of the lower weight classes growing. Okay. But just like what happened in the NBA, Claymore, when all the other countries was getting pushed continuously, the government was funding their Olympic teams. The government would fund their amateur fighters, right? The other countries just kept getting better. Russia, Eastern Europe, China, Japan, and they never stopped. They never stopped making it accessible to the normal household of their countries, right? Boxing, on the other hand, started to become more and more of a niche sport. So we started losing the best 160 pounders, 168 pounders, 175, all the way up to the heavyweight. And as we've always remembered, Mike Tyson is probably the last great American heavyweight. Am I wrong on that, Claymore? Is there any, except for, of course, I'm going to talk about my guy, Deontay Wilder. But what I'm saying is accessible to the free public.
Right.
Accessible to the free public. Who's the last great heavyweight that was
Mike
free?
Tyson, hands down, Mike.
Okay. Because we never saw a Deontay Wilder video game, right? Nintendo never came out with a Deontay Wilder video game.
No.
We never got to see Deontay Wilder shirts, or a Deontay Wilder mania of any sort, or like right now. Why does everyone even know who Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce is? Probably because Travis Kelce's dating Taylor Swift. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like a pop culture thing, right?
Right.
And the last pop culture heavyweight that we saw was Mike Tyson. So that's a long time, brother. That's a long time, because while it was just Mike Tyson, then Lennox Lewis grew. Eastern Europe with the Klitschko brothers grew. And then it went from that to Anthony Joshua, right? It went from that to Tyson Fury. So by the time Wilder was a thing for us, the hardcore boxing fans, or even the casual boxing fans who knew who Deontay Wilder was, we never got to see the fight we always wanted to see, brother, the Anthony Joshua fight.
100%.
What would have been, right? What would have been. And I make this point to you, sir, to give it back to you. If American boxing was so popular even during the Wilder and Anthony Joshua time, then why didn't we celebrate Andy Ruiz when he knocked out Anthony Joshua to become the lineal heavyweight champion at the time? He had all the belts at this point except for Wilder's WBC, and he won in Madison Square Garden. Why didn't we celebrate that more? The first Mexican-American heavyweight champion to hold all those belts?
100%. 100%. There just hasn't been enough of a fan base, the older generation, and then we don't even need to compound it with pirating and the way streaming is working now, and how that's also destroyed the pay-per-view model. It ended up leaving boxing in a very dry space, right? Because fans went down, and then they had an option. They were able to go over to the UFC model, and they were able to watch combat sports, and not only was more accessible, but also had the structure, one title for each division. It wasn't as complicated. It wasn't as hard to follow. There was all these different angles. Now with Turki Al-Sheikh stepping into the game and melting what he's trying to do, melt the best of both worlds, brings the boxing in that was the #1 sport in the world at one point in time, and bringing this model, this marketing strategy of making it way more accessible. And add in the production, right? Add in the high level production, esports and video games, and bringing that back to the table. I mean, where do you stand on that? Why did it seem like boxing also lost its grip on just even advertisers didn't want to stand next to it no more? I remember when there was a point in time when we saw Marvin Hagler in deodorant commercials, with, you know what I'm saying, and things of that nature. And you don't see any of those things with the sport anymore. No Nike endorsement, no nothing. Do you think this ushers in an opportunity for boxing to see all those things again, and for these fighters to benefit of it?
I'm going to answer that in like a couple of segues. One is boxing's been getting invested on. It's just been outside the United States of America. If you guys don't believe boxing is huge, boxing is a top 3 sport outside of the U.S.
100%.
And in Japan, they sell out arenas, right? And Japan's got 9 world champions right now, currently. in the UK, they sell out stadiums, right? We just saw 90,000 at Wembley a couple of weeks ago, right? We saw 67,000 at a soccer stadium for Chris Ben versus Chris Ben Jr., Chris Eubanks Jr. versus Connor Ben, and neither one is even a world champion, brother.
Never been to one
they
either.
filled out 67,000 people, right? But yet we had Terence Crawford fight at the BMO Stadium. It was like pulling teeth to get people to come watch.
Oh yeah,
Probably the greatest American boxer we have today, right? It was like pulling teeth, man. He's pound for pound number 3. Some people say he's pound for pound number 1. Even Usyk, even Alexander Usyk, who is the heavyweight champion of the world, who is undisputed, who is rated as pound for pound number 1. He says, in his opinion, Terence Crawford is the pound for pound best fighter in the world, number 1. And how come I got a Ukrainian world champion telling me how great Terence Crawford is, and I can't get the guy from Starbucks to come see him at BMO Stadium? You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Right? So I say that to you to answer it this way. I don't think it's the fighter's faults. And I don't even think it really, I mean, I could blame, obviously I can go down a rabbit hole, which I will not, I promise. I won't give you guys that rant of promoters. What I will say, though, is when boxing was accepted in the United States of America as a normal part of the American culture because we had the best fighters in the world, everyone talked about it in regular news. Everyone talked about it on the Great Depression. Everyone talked about it in every single era, including Mike Tyson. It only stopped, brother, when it became inaccessible to the common man. When it became inaccessible to everyone else and it became a quote unquote rich man sport, right? Right? Then what do you expect? And then this is the coup de grace, the statement. The media stopped talking about it, man. 100%. The media. Okay, I didn't hear Rich Eisen and God rest his soul, Stuart Scott. We're talking about Stuart Scott, man, booyah, and the whole bit, but I barely heard him talk about any boxing segment, right? Because it didn't become a part of the American fabric in terms of mainstream media anymore. And even though we had great boxers coming through from the 90s to the 2000s to the 2010s, all the way up until now. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to the show right now, do you currently even know that we have 21 born and raised in the United States of America world champions today? Claymore, 21, right? And yet, brother, I never hear ESPN talk about the fact that we have 30% of the global world champions of boxing, bro. You know, like, that's insane to me, right? It's insane to me that in November at Riyadh, right, we are celebrating the fact that Sela, the Saudi Arabia investment group, is investing in 6 Americans. 5 of them are fighting for world titles.
100%.
3 of them are in the pound for pound. They're fighting in Riyadh, right? If this was any other sport, if this was the Olympics, if this was any other sport, American media would be all over it, Claymore. They'd be like, oh my gosh, did you know that Abdullah Mason is fighting in Riyadh for his first world title? This is a 21-year-old young man who could be our next Sugar Ray Leonard, right? You'd be hearing about Devin Haney, who was on the pound-for-pound list just in January. You'd be hearing about Brian Norman Jr., who's the knockout specialist that's defending his title against Devin Haney. You'd be hearing about David Benavidez, the Mexican-American monster, right? You, sir, would be hearing about Jesse Bam Rodriguez, who was born in Texas. In fact, Texas loves him so much, the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones went and watched this last fight in July, right?
Right.
This is the next Manny Pacquiao, y'all. This is the next Manny Pacquiao. And I have not heard Stephen A. Smith say his name once. I have not.
What is it, though? Why? Why is the bigger question, Angelo? Why? Why aren't we celebrating these accomplishments? Why? What happened? We understand these accomplishments. Why? What happened? We understand the pay-per-view model came in and kind of hurt the fan base a little bit. The casual fans who didn't want to pay for it. Now you'll see them watching a little more because they can stream it illegally, do whatever they do. But what stopped our media from covering the sport the way it was covered 30 years ago?
It's because, I mean, and again, there's no simple answer to this, but this is just true. Part of it is just the idea that the NFL grew, right? So the NFL grew to become so big that we talk about it every day. Think about it this way, guys. There's 18 weeks in a season. How come we talk about the NFL every day? It's a 52-week conversation, man. That's crazy. Yeah, exactly, right? The NBA at one point, you'll remember, the NBA was huge. In fact, I venture to say that the NBA actually helped make Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. And I'll tell you why. In 2010, that fight was trying to be made, right? Mm-hmm. We had a peaking Floyd Mayweather against a peaking Manny Pacquiao. And it was only in the boxing community that everybody talked about it. Right. It took another 5 years for everybody in the mainstream community to get to know Manny Pacquiao and to get to know who Floyd Mayweather is. And then one day in a basketball game, they were both courtside. They walk over to each other in front of national TV. They shake hands, and then national media starts talking about this fight, right?
Right.
And that's how it got made. That's how it got made. I don't remember that happening for Deontay Wilder. I sure as hell don't remember that happening for Anthony Joshua. I mean, the interesting thing when we talk about a Adonis specimen in what Anthony Joshua was able to do within his boxing career is this is a guy who started learning how to box in his teenage years, became the gold medalist in London, where he grew up in 2012, right? This is a movie, bro. This is a movie.
Facts.
Eventually goes all the way up to fight Klitschko, who at the time, you remember, Klitschko, the Klitschko brothers was a thing, right? And Klitschko held all the belts. And to this day, if you go back to that Wembley Stadium fight, it's still one of the greatest heavyweight fights you'll ever see. Both guys hurt each other. There's drama to it. There's intrigue. It's like a movie watching that whole fight, right? And yet, Anthony Joshua is not American. And in fact, Anthony Joshua has only fought in America once. And in fact, the one time he fought in America, he lost. And he lost to a Mexican-American named Andy Ruiz, the first ever Mexican-American heavyweight champion of the world, right? That had all those belts, I'm saying, right?
Right.
So I say that to say that during that time, again, man, it was easier for Sugar Ray Leonard to get a bunch of investors to bet on him to put himself on TV. It was easier for Marvin Hagler to have those fights on TV because back then, Claymore, boxing was treated like the NBA, like the NFL, like Major League Baseball, and the money that was driving the fights was the advertisers.
100%.
Right? So
100%.
Where's the money where's the money coming from now versus where was the money coming from? Let's call it conservatively from 2013 to 2023, Claymore. Where is the money investment coming from for the sport of boxing?
It was coming from networks. Networks were getting raped for the money by promotional companies that were
and pay-per-view, brother.
Right.
And pay-per-view.
And pay-per-view, 100%. Right.
Right. So pay-per-view.
To me, that was what the networks were hoping to get their money back on, but they weren't breaking even. They weren't making money the whole time. They weren't making any money. You know what I mean? So the fighters and the promotional companies were capitalizing off the networks' belief in gambling and throwing the dice that they were going to make it and that we were going to get the sport to be so huge. But ultimately, what they watch is as it was underneath the networks and working under the pay-per-view model was doing like this. It was doing like this. And the only answers that the promotional companies had were put more money into it. Trust me, just like a dying stock, right? You don't lose unless you sell. right? No matter how much the stock is going down, until you sell it, you haven't lost anything. And I think the networks got caught up in the idea of that happening until they finally decided to cut their losses and said, we're going to sell it here. And whatever, we're just going to take our losses and be done with it. And now the promotional companies with no backup plan, no hedging plan on how they were going to deal with this, never saved any money, never reinvested any money back into the sport, have been left high and dry to figure out how they're going to put the biggest fights on in the world. Now that they've set the pay grade, they set the price so high, how are they going to do it? And of course, in comes Saudi Arabia to go ahead and fill in that space.
And here's the thing too, to add to what you're talking about. Do you remember that between 2013 and 2023, I'm just going to conservatively call it that period of 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. Remember the narrative that PBC was going to go ahead and put boxing back on the map in the United States? You remember all of that? All of that jargon with Fox Sports and everything else and how it was going to build it up? What happened, Claymore? What happened, man? Like, you know, that was a 10-year run. 10 years. What happened? Why isn't it as popular? We had the baddest man on the planet. We had Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder should be getting talked about outside the United States as much as, and in fact, the sad thing was, I think Deontay Wilder was being talked about more outside of the United States than he was being talked about.
Yeah, I remember they talked about that, right? That if Deontay Wilder would have walked down the street in Times Square, nobody would have probably recognized who he was, even though he did all those things. But he couldn't have walked anywhere in England and not been recognized. Everybody knew who Deontay Wilder was over there, if not just off the strength of Anthony Joshua, off the strength of the knockouts and how popular the sport was over there. Right.
And again, like when we have a discussion like this and we're talking about just, again, we're not sparing you're not spinning a narrative and I'm not spinning a narrative. We're talking about actual factual things, right?
Right.
So the funny thing to me is, you remember growing up in a UFC era in where it was literally being talked about on talk shows in the early 90s as human cockfighting.
Right.
It should be banned.
Right.
It could only be shown in certain states. Remember how other states would make it illegal? Remember when that was a thing? We're not going to do UFC here. It's illegal in this state. Remember that?
There was no real weight classes. The gloves were pretty much non-existent. You could do anything. I remember seeing a guy in the ring with one glove, right? Who thought that he was going to bring box. You know, it was a sport that was finding itself, and it definitely had no respect, and it was never anticipated to be as big as it was. They thought it was just going to come and go.
Right. Now, what happens? Let's conservatively say 1995 to 2025. So that's 30 years. Right. So it only took them 30 years to now have a chance to become like the NFL. It only took them 30 years, bro, to be so accessible. And again, and I'm still saying that UFC also had a pay-per-view model. UFC, you have to pay $80 for pay-per-views. Not everybody was that happy about it. But even still, I say that to say that last week, Saturday, or this past Saturday, UFC 319 was done in Chicago, Claymore. You can't get any more American than Chicago, right? It was done in Chicago to a packed arena with people buying it on pay-per-view. And the main event was a guy from Saudi Arabia against a guy from South Africa. And it was mostly a wrestling match.
Right.
How did that happen, Claymore? How did it happen?
The casuals accessing, everything that Dana did from the Ultimate Fighter to the house. What was it? Was it called the Ultimate Fighter?
Yes, the Ultimate Fighter was on Spike TV. That's correct. That was the house. TV.
They did a great job of giving access to the sport. They didn't make it difficult for people to watch the fights, to watch the events. And then you had some characters like Conor McGregor. You had legendary fighters like George St. Pierre. You had John Bone Jones. You had Ronda Rousey come around. You had all these interesting, unique characters that popped up in the space. And then you had Dana White, who's also working with Vince McMahon and all the best marketers when it came to sports.
Brock Lesnar, who was a huge figure.
He crossed over and came over as well from WWE to come fight. And you had all all the stops were pulled away. And ultimately the fans just had an opportunity to see the sport. This is the same way that we're looking like boxing is going to usher in this new era to where the access is going to be the same way, where you're going to see YouTube and Netflix, and you're gonna see DAZN is offering and taking away the pay-per-view model, and you're just gonna see a whole entire influx of new fans, of casual fans have access to the sport that didn't have it before. And advertisers are going. I'm gonna let you have it back and land the plane there, just to say that.
Yeah, I'm gonna land the plane.
This is a Pandora's box that's getting ready to get opened right now, and go ahead.
Yes, sir. No, the plane is landing with the Pandora's box. The plane started to take off in 2023. In fact, I remember you and I having a private conversation about it, that most people who don't look into what's really happened, they fail to remember that it was 2019 that this whole Saudi thing really started. Right. 2019, right. The rematch between Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua, which should have been done in the United States of America, with an American champion. He should have been beloved. He should have been, PBC should have done something about this. This should have been on free TV. We should have had advertisers, right? Nope. You got, or not us, but the entities that were in charge chose to give it away to Saudi Arabia.
Right. Saudi
Arabia sees the fight and goes, you know what? Maybe boxing will be easier to take over.
Maybe.
And then sure enough, Claymore, 2023 begins, right? 2023, we start with Battle of the Baddest, Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury, and all the other heavyweights gets shown to Riyadh and what Riyadh could offer. And then we see Day of Reckoning, which they actually made a documentary movie about already. That's December, of 2023. And then Claymore, 2024 happens, brother. And 2024 was insane with fights. If you hated boxing or you thought boxing never fought best versus the best, and you somehow missed the 12-month period of January to December of 2024, you really missed out on best versus the best. And then, sir, 2025 starts. 2025 starts with a bang. In fact, it starts with such a bang that the weekend after the Super Bowl, we had 7 fights that were all bangers in Riyadh for $24.99.
Insane.
$24.99, right? And Turkey starts to talk about, I'm doing everything I can now. Give me a little bit more time. I'm eventually going to get it so accessible. And he kept talking about pirating. He kept talking about how there's so many millions pirating the sport. Why would we do that? Let's just try to give it to them. Right. And now the Saudi group has ushered in the free boxing era, right? Where starting in November, ladies and gentlemen, no more pay-per-views. You're going to see 5 world title fights, not on pay-per-view. You just have to be subscribed to DAZN. Just like, by the way, for anyone who complains to me about that, I always say this. You're paying for subscription now to watch the NFL. The NFL is not free.
Everybody.
You're paying for subscription right now for the NFL.
Everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it, bro. It's nothing new.
So no pay-per-view for 5 world title fights. And I just told you that 6 Americans are fighting on that card. So it should be talked about more. But then, man, the Netflix Canelo Crawford era begins with Zuffa boxing and Dana White. Some of the things I'm hearing, Claymore, they're talking about doing a series. You might hear it from here first if you haven't heard it yet. A series called Underdog, which is going to replicate The Ultimate Fighter, which will be accessible on free television to everyone in the United States. And it's a boxing series, right? There's already a talk. You already saw that, how there's a bill being passed right now to the government about how boxing should be regulated more in the United States, right? And this is not unsimilar to how the BBC, the British Boxing Board of Controls, does it, right? There's more and more accessibility. So it only took the Saudi Arabia group 2 years, brother. It hasn't even been 2 years quite yet, but 2 years to get everyone to watch free global boxing and now introduce to everyone. That's insane to me. It's insane to me that there was an American promotional group that couldn't do in 10 years with the actual people they had. They had Floyd Mayweather. They had Deontay Wilder. They had Danny Garcia. They had Adrian Broner. They had so many stars after stars after stars. and they couldn't do it in 10 years, Claymore. What the Saudi group, Sella, because everybody keeps saying Turkey, but people keep forgetting that Turkey is the face of Sella.
Exactly.
Right? The Saudi investment group. What Sella did in less than 2 years. What Sella did in less than 2 years, and what Dana White, whether you like him or not, it's about to blow everyone up. What he's about to do to boxing is going to blow everyone's minds.
They don't know, man. And you know, the hate and the pushback, it's futile to a large degree, because the American fan base, boxing fan base, has been ignored now for a little while now, to a certain degree. As far as, you know, it's kind of like when you focus on the kids, right? You don't care about the adults anymore, because the adults are already doing what they do. They're looking at your kids now. Your kids, the ones playing the video games, the ones that are watching UFC, playing the UFC video game, playing Undisputed. That's what they're looking at right now, right? They're focused on this next generation of boxing fan, and all the complaining, whining, you know what I'm saying, generation. I'm trying to spare my words and not say nothing too crazy, right? But
I know.
During a period of time, the people who got used to the business model as it was and became fans in this era of the pay-per-view model and the A side and across the street politics and all those different things that have strangled this game, this boxing game, to put it in a position that it's in, they've forgotten about you guys. They're not listening to you guys, nor are they trying to feed you anything. They know there's no satisfying you. They know that you're just crab in the barrel mentality is something that's just part of your DNA now. They're coming for your kids now. They're coming for your kids, and they're bringing in everything that can affect that, from Fatal Fury to video game to Undisputed to esports, to the kids competing in video games, and all these different intangibles that you guys ignored for years. And they're taking this sport into a whole new era. This is Jetson shit going on right now. This is like, take away the wheels, we're going to see flying cars and everything coming up and down the streets. There's a whole new way and a whole new strategy at approaching this sport, and it's going to bring more eyes. It's going to bring more advertisement. It's going to bring more ways and opportunities for these fighters to make money. It's just going to bring more. The fighters are going to benefit for it, and the boxing fans who are actually wanting to watch more boxing are going to benefit from it, period. That's the way that works every time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm here for it, by the way, Claymore. I'm here for all of it. You're giving away free combat sports. You're making it normal to everyone now. Now these kids, some of them, and again, I know we don't talk about it too much on this channel, but I do have to say it, right? So during that time period where boxing was kind of a rich man sport, a guy by the name of Jake Paul decided, hey, man, you know, maybe I could take some of this fan base myself and fight a retired basketball player
and bring my fan base. And I can also translate and bring my fan base with me that follows me. My cult following will follow me anywhere. I'll bring him into the space. I'll show him the sport from somebody want to see it from. And in the meantime, I'll introduce them to boxing in a whole nother. Brother, this energy that's being infused into the sport right now has brought the interest of a Netflix to put on.
And in fact, can you do this too for me, Claymore? Jackie Hernandez, and shout out to the chat, by the way. We appreciate you guys.
We got a topic. No, I got to shout out to everybody in the building for sure. Definitely I was waiting for us because we haven't even gotten into the topic.
Into the actual title of the subject. We haven't even gotten to it yet. But shout out
the magnitude of everything that's going on right now, and just kind of like bringing an era, a time period to where the sport was, and kind of taking you guys through a journey to where the sport went through, and kind of showing you guys how it's coming back in spades, and how the people that are investing in the sport remember this time period that we're talking about, and they're bringing it back. They're not reinventing the wheel. They're putting everything back. They're recalibrating everything back where it was.
Exactly. And shout out to Jackie. And Jackie's one of our smarter panelists, very intelligent when it comes to boxing, right? But Jackie says Jake Paul also helped bring back eyes to women's boxing, right? And when we talk about one of the best fights we've seen this year and last year, it's Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, right? And in the previous era of 2013 to 2023, there were great women's boxing matches, right? And yet it couldn't get a stage. And in the meantime, everyone outside of the U.S. grew. And then what happened? The 2012 Olympics. The reason why Clarissa Shields has a movie right now is because she had an opportunity to win 2 gold medals, man.
100%.
That didn't even exist for women before 2012. It wasn't like women weren't trying, brother. There were great fighters like Lucia Riker, Ann Wolf, right? What would have happened if Layla Ali during that time had a chance to go to the Olympics? How crazy would that have been? How crazy 100%. Would that have been, Claymore? So again, I say to everyone who hates boxing and trolls, you're just not paying attention. You're not paying attention that this is the greatest sport out there. It's different than any other sport. It's the only sport that there's an actual statistics where people will die because you don't play it. You could play football. You could play basketball. You could play baseball. You don't play boxing, man. People put their lives on the line. So if you're trolling and you're hating on boxers, then shame on you, bro. Or sis, whoever you may be. Shame on you. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of sisters out there too. Salute Ray Davis in the building. Ray popped up. Ray, you not working?
Yeah, I'm going a little bit. I'm about to cook. But before I get yelled at, my wife about to yell at me for not cooking. I was asleep.
Salute, Ray. What's good with your family?
Good, was good. Listen, I was on par. I was trying to get up here. I don't know what was going on with my computer, but I'm like, man, let me get up here because I definitely want to mention Jake Paul. He stole the words right out of my mouth. Claire, how many times have I said it? We owe Jake Paul the eye for the casual fan because in KSI, I give KSI some credit too, but we owe them the credit for the casual fan getting back into boxing, of helping build the sport back up. Because once they started putting on the gloves casually and doing all these like events, then you started seeing Floyd do it. And then Floyd started bringing those same eyes back in through these exhibitions. And now we're pushing a new era because now people are starting to find a home. Whether it's Devin Haney, Tank Davis, Bud Crawford, Moses Itauma now, Canelo Alvarez. Like people are finding homes with some of these boxers. Even Rodriguez
and all those guys, right?
They're finding homes with professional boxers because of the fact that Jake Paul, what was that, 2020, I want to say, or 2021, when he did that event.
It talking about the one against Tommy Fury? With Tommy Fury? No, you talking about the one before that?
His first one. Well, yeah, his first card.
You're talking about the one on
with Nate Robinson?
Before Nate Robinson.
Yeah, what was the name of that?
Nate Robinson.
What was the name of that network that they were working with? What was it called again? That's what Tio went
to. Thrill Hill.
Thriller. Yeah, Thriller. Yeah,
they were with Triller. Excuse me. Yeah, Triller. And them bringing that back and then exposing it to the YouTube space, YouTube boxing, free boxing, like. Look at where they are and look where we are now. I mean, Pro Box came along and they stole some of the fighters that weren't being used and just sitting on the sidelines, putting them in the ring. Like the space has grown and they put the fights on for free. And how many times have people said, "Yo, Pro Box is it? Pro Box is what boxing needs to be doing." Right. And then look at all the main branches of boxing starting to put preliminaries on YouTube. They started doing that because Pro Box is still in the show.
Right.
Listen, I can go watch Pro Box. I can get a whole card on Pro Box. So, okay, well, let's put our preliminaries on Pro Box and make them come over to the main event. This has changed the sport. The sport is growing again. I believe it is growing. When I look at the fan base and I watch channels or used to watch channels and things of that nature, and I'm watching 500, 600 in the background. You're watching a boxing voice. 700 people, showbiz, 700 people in a background. That means boxing is alive. Whether they're there with those guys for entertainment or they're there for the information, they're there, and that proves that boxing has a rebound of some sorts into the space. And I think in America, I think we just have to get our heads out of our asses based on why our fighters have to be the best, why our fighters are this way or that way, or why does it have to be a Black American fighter? Why can't it just be we have great fighters and there's fighters across the world that we need to see our fighters against? We need to get outside of our space. Like I said, it has to grow. And as long as we stay where we are, which I hope Dana White does with Top Rank. What I hope he does with TKO is that he brings that type of atmosphere. You know, I just heard the other day is why aren't these guys fighting here? I forgot who it was. I heard it was some like skit. Why are they got 2 Russian guys fighting in the U.S.? Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Does it matter? Doesn't you wanted boxing here in the U.S. Now you're complaining about who's fighting in the U.S. Like
exactly. You know what I mean? And Ray, let me just say this too. Again, man, why has the UFC taken over? It went from a sport of Kimbo Slice fighting in the backyard, right?
I'm about to say it goes further back than that, though, right, Angel? Let's be honest. It goes back.
Well, no. We're talking about outside the U.S. though, but I'm talking about how in the regular U.S., the you know, like it went from being banned, right? Like I don't remember a time that boxing was ever banned in the United States, right? But this actual sport was banned in different states.
Sport, right? Remember, it was based off of Kumite.
And now, brother, it's about to be on the White House lawn on July 4th, man. I mean, good Lord, what happened?
Regulations happen. Regulations. And you know what? That's what boxing needs. And Clay talks about all the time. So TKO, if they do it right and they show the regulations of the sport, boxing may grow globally bigger than what it is.
100%.
And I think it's already there. The evolution doesn't stop. It's just people don't have patience. You know, we live in a now society in the United States. And I think that's what it is, where everyone else is entitled to let things grow. We see it all the time. We could tell by a fast-paced American football game to a slow-paced soccer game or global football game. When you got global football, what happens? They kick the ball around the pitch. They're back and forth. It takes forever to get one goal. You have to set up the shots right. They have patience for that. Then you got American football. It's like, hey, 10 yards, 4 yards, change the ball over. 4 yards, 4 downs, change it over. Whatever the case may be, it's always back and forth. And it's the same thing, but you're looking for the big plays, and you want the big plays. You're looking at multiple touchdowns. You're giving 7 points or 6 points per touchdown as opposed to 1 point for scoring. There's so many different variables for the sport. Even rugby or Australian rules football, similar games are more popular globally than American football. The reason why is because the way they play the game, and people have patience for it. Do you see that on our TV stations? No, you see them on like some of the oddest hours or some, you know what I mean? And the people that love rugby watch both. So it's the same exact thing with boxing. And I think they need to understand that this is how the sport has to go. I put it.
The other thing too, Ray. Hey, Ray, can I just do this and I'll let you keep cooking? Yeah. But also one thing that, and again, I'm sorry I didn't mention this when we were going over the fight cards for September 13th. For the American fan base, so that you don't hate on what they're actually doing. If you look at the entire card, there's a reason why the co-main event is Caleb Walsh versus Fernando Vargas Jr. And Fernando Vargas Jr. is Mexican-American. Caleb Walsh is an Irish. Because again, this is all about global viewership, right? But the YouTube portion, the free YouTube portion, which will get even more eyeballs, because YouTube is you don't even have to pay $7 to get on YouTube. It's free, right? YouTube is free. Okay. The YouTube portion, I failed to mention this to everybody, but it's America versus everyone else. Brandon Adams is American, fighting Boacek. Jermaine Franklin is American, fighting Ditchko. Javier Martinez is American. He's fighting Tsutsumi. Caraballo is American. He's fighting Al Muhammad. And Marco Verde probably is going to fight an American. So come on, y'all. America is like being shown. In
Verde, just for the record, Marco Verde lives in the United States. So
that's true. That's true. He was born in Mexico, though.
I know. But, his residence is here. So, let's keep it 100.
No, right. You can go to Claymore Rain, Claymore_Rain on Instagram. Or you can put it right here, obviously. But definitely go to Claymore_Rain at on Instagram, and you pull me right up. Yeah, listen, man. We're here, man, and I dare I say we've been speaking since this platform came up. Since this platform actually came up, this has been the conversation. And it was a conversation during a time when it wasn't popular, and I don't know that it's popular right now, right? I don't know that the conversation is popular right now. But the writing was always been on the wall, and here we are. Here we are ushering in this fight with Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez on September 13th. A fight significant in multiple ways, not only on the fight itself, but also what we just talked about, what it's ushering in, this access to fights. It's free. This Netflix viewership is going to be in the same conversation of Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier and all of your biggest events that you can think about that happened back in the day before this pay-per-view model. And we're about to show the world, hopefully show the world what boxing can really do. I would think any real boxing fan would get behind this, because if this does grow the sport, it benefits every content creator, every boxing fan, and every boxer in the world should be dialed in on September 13th and hoping that this hits it right out the park. And I think it will. I think they got two fighters involved in this conversation, in Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, who have so much pride, so much machismo, so much ego. This fight is going to go tooth and nail. It's not going to be a money grab exclusively. It's going to be a great fight. Right. And now you're starting to see the boxing space, as far as from fighters to boxing fans to trainers, all the way across the board. Now you're starting to hear them. You've seen Denzel Washington, actors, people who are tapping into this situation, and now you're starting to see the reality that this fight is going to be super competitive. And obviously there's a lot of people who are worried on both sides of the conversation, some for the wrong reasons, some for the right reasons, but now it's on, and we're 24 days away. Terence Crawford putting on the size right now. The athleticism is under question. People are wondering if everything that he really brings to the table is going to be compromised by him putting on this weight. And I think that we can slide into that topic and say, is that the case always? And I'm about to put Angelo on blast. I don't want to put you on blast.
That's all right.
As a trainer, you know what I'm saying, who's been dealing with this sport at the highest level, and seeing things similar to this to a certain degree, how much of a factor is this weight gain going to be for Terence Crawford? I mean, people are sharing their opinion. What's your opinion?
First of all, I want to say thank you, Claymore. And if you guys want to watch the episode, this is about, I want to say it was about 2 or 3 episodes ago. I've been begging my brother to please just put it on a video edit, so that he spoke eloquently about accountability, and let's not, I really didn't appreciate, and I don't appreciate anyone who wants to say, because Terence Crawford is working with Victor Conti, that there might be something funny going on. Ridiculous. Look, we live in a country where you're innocent until you're proven guilty, and we should not be talking about, because you're taking it away from the kid, right? Mm-hmm. Terence Crawford right now is our best pound-for-pound fighter in the United States. Agreed, Ray? Can we agree on that? In fact, if we really want to take it further, Alexander Usyk, who is ranked as the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, he's number 1, right? He's the heavyweight champion, undisputed. He even says Terence Crawford is number 1 pound for pound, right? So come on, man. He's got respect from the fighters. He's got respect from the fans who really know about the sport, right? Mm-hmm. Why can't media or pseudo media or podcasters respect this man? Why can't you? Why get clickbait, right? You know why? So I want to thank you, Claymore, for setting everyone straight and basically saying, don't do this to this guy. Don't do this to this man who's done nothing wrong, right? Let's celebrate him for what he is and for what he's done. 41-0. There has not been a blueprint set to beat Terence Crawford. And until someone can tell us what that blueprint is, right? We celebrated Floyd Mayweather for being 50-0. Then Terence Crawford is 9 fights away from that. But we've never seen Floyd Mayweather win 3 undisputed weight divisions, bro. That ain't ever happened, right?
We haven't seen real ones.
And again, when we're talking to great grandkids from now, right? Like if people are talking, they're not going to remember. All they're going to remember is who did what. And if Terence Crawford pulls this off in the history of boxing, it's easy to say why Terence Crawford himself believes that he should be into Mount Rushmore at this point. And what I'll say about that, and again, I'm not, because it's easy. You can pick it apart all you want. And I understand, Shelton, I'm sorry if you're listening to this. I totally understand the point that you're about to say. But I say that to say there are not many of us maybe only you, Shelton, who got to watch Sugar Ray Robinson, right? But Sugar Ray Robinson, we've always been told, and when we watch the footage, that this man was so great, he jumped divisions. He fought at 47. He fought at 60. It didn't matter how big the other person was. He beat them all, and then he went back down, and he beat them up too, and he did this, and he did that.
Right.
Decades from now, that's the way they're going to talk about Terence Crawford if he beats Canelo Alvarez.
I agree.
They're going to say that this man got all the belts at 140, then he got all the belts at 147, and he did something that no one else did. He jumped all the way up to beat the baddest man on the planet. Mexico had the best, and he smashed them. And that Mexican was dominating everybody. That's what people are going to talk about in terms of the narrative 20, 30 years from now. So now I bring it back to what you're saying, Claymore, which is the weight difference really going to matter? Skills pay the bills, baby. Did the weight difference really matter when Floyd taxed Canelo? Not really. Weight difference didn't matter when Manny Pacquiao put it on Margarito.
Nope.
Right? Why are we going to do that? I'm not going to do that to Terence Crawford. I appreciate Terence Crawford for being great. I appreciate that in an era where people will retire because they don't have the money that they want, you got a man, a superhero, who's about to be 38 years old, undefeated. Terence Crawford steps up to the plate and says, you know what, y'all? Why can't I fight Canelo? Why not? He kind of shorter than me, right? You know, I'm pretty athletic. The last time I remember, who's the only other switch hitter we got that's proven to be great? We got switch hitters in boxing, but who else do we have that's proven to be great? Terence Crawford, man. So when people are wondering, how is Terence Crawford going to beat Canelo? I ask you, sir, right back. How's Canelo going to beat Terence Crawford, man?
Oh, my goodness.
Go ahead, Ray. Get it.
Well, listen, first and foremost, let me tell you this. Clay knows I'm a Earl Spence guy. I was rocking with Earl Spence for a long time. I had no faith in Terence even beating Earl. He showed me something. I respect it. I didn't shy away from it. You know, I made a few excuses here and there, but then I had to open up my eyes and say, guess what? Earl got in that ring. Like, you know, if he felt that there was something wrong, he would have never gotten that ring. Clay had to break that down to me as well. No excuses, right? The guy said it himself. Terence Crawford has been an anomaly in the sport. He is a one-of-a-kind, unique fighter. What I love about this fight is I think that a lot of people are missing the point that if you take throughout the last 10 years, he's been pound for pound number 1, pound for pound number 2, pound for pound number 1, pound for pound number 2. He's back and forth on that top tier. Right now, I think he's 3 behind Inoue. But regardless, he's
that probably makes a lot on activity too, right? Let's be honest.
He's the king of pound for pound, right? To me, he's a pound for pound king. And you have a buildup where he's fighting the face of boxing, like the king of boxing. So this right now says a lot. Now, the only way I would say that, how would Canelo, to answer your question, have a chance of beating Bud, is overpowering him. Only opportunity. Is he going to be susceptible to the punches that Terence throws back? He may. A lot of people talking about if he gets dropped that he's definitely using steroids because he hasn't dropped Madrimov. Or I'm like, bro, that has nothing to do with it. Sometimes it's punch placement. Like, people don't understand punch placement, knowing where to throw that punch, knowing how to throw that punch. All those things matter. And if you're unable to do so, guess what happens? You're going to be in there for a long night. If you know how to throw your punches, you know how to wear down your opponent, break them down, and use the simple things in life of walking people into stuff, they're going to punch themselves out. Terence is an expert at that. I watched it with my own eyes for years. I've seen it with my own eyes for years, and I think that as far as Canelo, he has only one shot. Walk him down, beat up his arms, beat up his hips, beat up his shoulders, make the joints hurt, make Terence drop his hands. And from there, he has an opportunity. Other than that, as a boxer, Canelo's no longer a boxer. He used to be. He is no longer a boxer. His knees are not the same. A lot of people forget about that. And because his knees are not the same, he is a statue with power and intellect. boxing intellect, and he uses that to get him in and out the situations that he's in. Salute Mazuma. What's going on, my brother?
Family.
But yeah, man. So with that being said, I think that's what puts Terence in a unique position of probably not getting beat by Canelo, because he has the accolades, I would say, or the the styles, all the different things he can bring to the table. Basically, an open menu of what he would like.
Yeah. Can I also add to that, Claymore? And I'm gonna let you go. The other thing too is what makes this fight so interesting. If you're selling it to a mainstream public, let's not forget this is the grand opening of the sport of boxing to the whole world. They're introducing it to 300 global subscribers, and I don't know how many billions of people got YouTube around the world to watch it for free. But they're gonna now. You just saw 6 fights being shown on YouTube. And by the way, Claymore, I'm hearing here in Las Vegas, it's not done. There might be a September 12th announcement with other fighters. We just don't know what's going on yet.
We were talking about that earlier. We were talking about that earlier. That this is supposed to be. I'm telling you guys, man. That's why I've been quiet. I've really been quiet, and I've been watching this. And I really haven't spoken about this fight as much as I would, because this is a fight I've been wanting to see ever since Terence announced it, that he was trying to make it happen when Canelo had already said it did nothing for him, and everybody was telling me that this fight wasn't going to happen. I sat back and waited, you know, and I really just believed. But also, Terence Crawford's one of those guys at this point in the game. If you haven't learned one thing about Terence Crawford, is when he sets his mind to something. You know, when you think about all the adversity he went through to get that Errol Spence fight set up, when you think about all the nonsense he went through with leaving Bob Arum and, you know what I'm saying, going on his own, and the type of spirit that he has of being an independent fighter and bet on himself. And really, in my personal opinion, I believe, me personally, I give Terence Crawford just as much credibility as anybody else as far as bringing Turkey into America, into this sport. I believe Terence was one of Turkey's big inspirations. I think he was one of the fighters that he really saw, and I think he really watched the American boxing space try to crucify this man over and over and over again. I also believe he was the one behind Terence Crawford feeling that he could get the fight done with Errol, when he was telling Errol about that 25 mil, that guaranteed money that he said he had the investors that gave him a holler. I think it was Turkey and them. Now to see this fight come full circle right now, one thing I've learned about Terence Crawford is, until you show me how you're gonna stop him, I don't believe you can stop him.
And by the way, Claymore, shout out to Pork Chop 318. Thank you for the super chat there. And you're absolutely right, man. The haters, and believe me, in the Raider Nation fan base, man, I don't even talk to these trolls when they say boxing's dead, bro. I don't know why you're watching it. They don't know what they're talking about. So you're absolutely right. Detractors will say they don't want to see this fight. So now this portion of the Reyes boxing ride might get a little rocky for the Terence Crawford fans. So Ray, did you like my soliloquy about how much we love Terence Crawford and how, as an American fighter, he should be celebrated as the best that we got? And shame on everyone who didn't support the BMO Stadium event last year. I mean, damn, what did Turkey have to give y'all? He gave you an Eminem concert. He gave you everything. He gave you great undercards. You guys are just a bunch of spoiled brats.
I was going to say that. It was like I was going to say it's a waste to most people, right? Because they just don't like Terence Crawford, right? They don't like Turkey Al-Rashid. It's so funny that His Excellency did all that for the greater good of boxing.
He really did.
It was met with a slap in the face from people that just can't accept that this guy's trying to bring the sport somewhere it's never been. I literally asked Clay, I was like, yo, this is like Rocky IV. Like, this is a moment of, you know what I mean, Apollo coming out with James Brown in the crowd, and you know what I mean? It was excitement. It was fireworks going. It was low riders riding them to the stage. Like, come on, have you seen anything like this? They were still talking about it, right? But at the same time, they had to find a niche to counter it, and that's the crazy part. I don't know.
The other thing too, I was going to say, Ray, is so shame on everyone who didn't support that. Shame on all of you who Turkey did try to bring it to the United States, and he brought it to LA. LA, which has a major media market.
Long time.
Yeah, so he brought it to LA, which has a major media market. So shame on you, LA, and all your little media groups for not promoting the fight, for not pushing it, for not celebrating Terence Crawford as the great pound-for-pound fighter that he is, that he's been this entire time. Shame on you, TMZ Sports, for not pushing Terence Crawford for the greatness that he's brought us this entire time. And if you're a detractor of boxing, then you're just hating, because you literally saw a pound-for-pound great at the BMO Stadium fighting for his next, he moved up in weight. We normally celebrate that. Oh, man, he's moving up in weight to go get another world championship, right? I didn't hear a lot of talk about it. I didn't hear a lot of talk about it at all. Now, I say all that to say the reason why this fight is so interesting, the reason why this fight is so enthralling for, if you're selling it on a global scale to mainstream people who don't watch boxing on a regular basis, like Ray and Claymore and my brother Shelton. I'm talking about people like us who will stay up till 4 a.m. to watch a Japanese card on ESPN Plus, y'all. All right, that's not the regular fan base. I understand, but for the mainstream fan base, this is why it's so exciting. Canelo Alvarez has been a name for so long. Canelo Alvarez got the entire Latin population all like that. That's their Manny Pacquiao.
The biggest thing.
Canelo Alvarez,
that is the biggest thing.
I dare say, Ray Davis. Yes, sir. I dare say, Ray, that Canelo Alvarez might be the most. Canelo Alvarez might be the most famous, well-known Mexican fighter that we've ever had. Like, try to really think in your head, right? We had De La Hoya, who had the chance to have the Mexican-American fan base, and let's not forget that De La Hoya also had the opportunity to tell his story about his mom battling cancer, and he wins the gold medal and the whole bit. Canelo didn't have none of that, bro. Canelo was fighting in the backwoods of Mexico, growing at 15 , right? Makes it all the way to be. Hold on.
Think about who wouldn't dug him up.
I know. I'm gonna let you go, Sheldon. Let me finish this though. Then I'm gonna let you go. And then here's the thing with Canelo. Really try to think in your head, Ray. Who is more popular in the history of boxing? That's a Mexican nationality that has galvanized the people to the point where they will rock with a guy, even though he popped for steroids. They still rock with him, no matter what, because he's really got everybody enthralled. And like I said, Terence Crawford is stepping up to the challenge, a challenge that we rarely see nowadays. He is stepping it up. So, but go ahead, Shelton. I'm sorry to interrupt, sir.
So it's crazy. I'm sorry, Shelton, real quick. What's crazy is Canelo Alvarez.
No, I was just gonna say I heard everything that he said, but you gotta remember. All that stuff that Oscar didn't do, he had the chance to do this, that, and the third. Oscar's the one that went and dug him up.
Yeah, he went and got him.
Right.
Oscar went and got him. Oscar found him. Yep. So I know they got their little beef right now, but Canelo Alvarez would not be Canelo Alvarez if it weren't for Oscar De La Hoya, and that is a fact.
Right. But what I was saying to that point is, Canelo is the Triple H of boxing. Right? Remember Triple H or Ric Flair to say, right? If you watch wrestling as a kid, you know those guys are the ultimate heels. Always, kind of like swinging this way, pause, and getting like sometimes the people to cheer for them with their chants, with the woo or the game. You know what I mean? Like something to do. It's bringing the sledgehammer out or bringing the Four Horsemen out. Always was something, but at the same time, you love to hate them. You know what I mean? And I think, he had they have fan bases. He has a fan base, but the rest of the world just hates him because it's just you want to see him get beat. And it happened. It happened to Floyd. When Floyd was the king of boxing at one point. It happened to Roy when Roy was up there at the pound great. A lot of fighters have went through the history of being the most hated, but none has sustained the test of time. I think as Canelo. I think Canelo's been really the savior in his first couple of years to the most hated. I think, when I say the most hated, I mean this is actually both guys are pretty much hated, right? Bud and Canelo, based on demographic or who they're fighting. So this makes it even more of a sell to the fans of boxing because, yes, they're fans of the sport, they're fans of the boxers, but it's just like they're not the favorite of boxers. Everybody wants to see,
and that's interesting. Ray.
You want to see him take an L. Bottom line,
that's interesting. It is because you got people who want to see Terence lose and see him get shut up and sat in his pockets, but you have an equal amount of people who want to see Canelo lose, and they don't think. A lot of people don't think Terence can do it, but a lot of people think Terence can do it. Right. That's very interesting. Two of the most hated fights. Real interesting. That's a real good little observation right there. Now I don't even pay attention
because Terence ain't Errol. They wanted Errol to have all this, and Terence ain't Errol, and he beat Errol.
Yeah,
now you see all these guys switching over. They were Errol fans. Now they Boots fans. They Madrimon fans. They anybody fan that's fighting Canelo.
Right.
I mean, that's fighting Terence Crawford. Anybody against Terence Crawford.
It's Victor's fault somehow.
Let me bring in my guy, man. Reyes, Angelo. This is my guy, Mazuma. I don't know if y'all met each other yet or not.
Never met Mazuma before, but I have listened to him, and props to you, bro. I love your content. Claymore knows I usually will just listen before I start joining in. I want to kind of get to know the people first, but I'm really appreciative that you're joining us tonight. You say a lot of good stuff, Mazuma.
Mazuma's my guy, right? Like Mazuma's the one who I popped up on Mazuma's channel. Let me tell you something. Mazuma cussed somebody the hell out the first time I ever seen Mazuma TV, right? He cussed somebody the hell out. It was crazy. Mazuma used to play like drill rap before his shows. You remember? He used to play drill rap. He used to get into it with people. And one day I sent Mazuma a message, right? And I'm like, yo, I love the show. I love the content. I was like, but damn, man, it's kind of, I said something online. I was like, man, it's kind of violent. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yo, new show, you know what I'm saying? Be patient with us. And he didn't cuss me out. So that kind of caught my attention right there that he didn't cuss me out, right? I was like, okay, well, let me see. So I popped up on the show one day and I hit the link and I talked to him and we had a good time talking. He told me, he was like, yo, bro, you should do a channel, this and that. So Mazuma TV is really the one who told me to do this. And Mazuma's on late night all the damn time. I'm an old man, bro. I used to try to stay up late and hang with him. It was just horrible for me, bro. It was horrible. And my wife was hating the shit out of my ass, right? So I was hating the shit out of my ass. But anytime he comes up here, bro, I always feel happy because he's like, I'm talking about I had like 100, less than 100 subscribers. Like I had nobody on my channel, nobody. And he helped me build it. And it's good to always see Mazuma. So yeah, Angelo, this is like grassroots right here, Mazuma TV, you know what I'm saying? And definitely super knowledgeable, one of the most, in my opinion, anyway, one of the most knowledgeable guys in the space. He's a boxing trainer, second generation boxing trainer, and a lot of passion for the sport. And he's from Philly, so you know how those motherfuckers get with.
I love it. Oh, from Philly, come on! I was just telling you about Joe Frazier, Clay. I was just telling you about Joe Frazier. I hate when people hate on Joe Frazier, bro. I'm like, Joe Frazier's the man. I told him earlier, right? I was like, man, Joe Frazier had knocked out all these heavyweights. Right now, everybody talking about Joe Frazier being short. You don't know how hard those punches were. Those punches were putting people's organs to sleep, bro. Go ahead, Mazuma. I'm sorry.
So yeah, that is. I gave you your intro, bro. I always try to give you an intro every time you pop up in this space, bro. Try to make it spicy. What's good with your family? How you living? And how you feeling about these topics that we're talking about?
That's the longest intro, Mazuma. I like it, though.
I do it every time. I try.
Nah, man, I appreciate the intro, man. I'm maintaining though. You feel what I mean? Nothing really to it. I didn't really get to really listen to the topics all like that. As soon as I seen the link, I just clicked it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm always down for the conversation, though. You already know how that go.
Well, we're talking about the magnitude of this fight, this Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford fight. And, we've seen the ups and downs from the steroid accusations to Terence Crawford to people saying this fight was never going to happen and Canelo wasn't interested in it. And people out here will push narratives and say there's no interest in the fight. This fight is not a fight anybody asked for. Some people not giving Terence even a chance. And now we're seeing this fight getting closer and closer to a 50-50 conversation where people are seeing how Terence Crawford could win this fight. And now I guess the topic at hand is this weight gain, this bulking up that he's been doing. The intangibles that Terence Crawford brings to the ring, his athleticism, his speed, the things that we believe are going to be the separation that's going to give him the win? Are those things truly being compromised with the way he's gaining his weight right now? Will he be slower all of a sudden? Will his muscle reflexes not be where it used to be? Is that going to be his downfall, is bulking up? Or is he able to, and you know, you're a boxing trainer, is he able to do this in the right way? Is there a right way to do this to where he doesn't compromise those things and he brings those intangibles in the ring when he fights Canelo?
Hey man, like the reality behind this answer is that we won't really know until it happens. You see what I mean? So that's first off, but we can always speculate just for the sake of boxing conversations. For everybody that like tunes into my channel and stuff like that, I told you guys from the very beginning of when this fight first got announced, even prior to this fight being announced, because Terence Crawford was, you know, hunting for this fight for a little while before it was made. I said that those same things that you had mentioned, you know, in terms the weight gain, you know, and all those little things. I said that was gonna be the thing that was gonna be the uphill battle for Terence Crawford. We're not speaking. I didn't think it was an uphill battle in terms of skill set or you know, athleticism or anything like that. But I did say that there was a lot of questions that's gonna be set in front of Terence Crawford. For one, the weight gain. You know what I mean? How is his legs gonna be underneath him with that additional weight being on him? Because historically, when guys put on weight, they tend to lose something. Whether it's their agility, whether it's their reflexes, whether it's their punching power. You know what I mean? We've seen guys do a one weight class move up like Teofimo, and their power don't really seem to be translating. And there's only a 5-pound move up, but that 5 pounds can make a difference. So imagine what 154 to 168 can do, right? So that's one thing. Now we got to take into consideration punch resistance. How is Terence Crawford's punch resistance going to be, you know, with this additional weight on him? Because we've seen Terence Crawford get rocked early on in his career at 35 against Yorkis Gamboa. Then we've seen him get in fights with Mean Machine, and you know, he responded how he was supposed to, like a true champion, actually pulled off the knockout. But you know, we've seen smaller guys have an effect on him when they land their shots clean. And I think it's safe to say throughout everybody on amongst everybody on the panel that Canelo Alvarez isn't necessarily a pillow puncher. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's shown to hold up some sort of concussive power. So that's another question. His punching power, because I'm not one of those guys that feels like, you know, Canelo Alvarez can't be stopped. The reality is anybody could be stopped, regardless of how granite your chin is. We've seen fighters with granite chins go to bed. You know, that it's not a far-fetched concept, but is he gonna have the power necessary to get Canelo Alvarez's respect? That's another thing with that additional weight up on you. You might be stronger and all that. You know what I'm saying? But are you going to be able to hurt and get the respect of somebody who historically has been known to take big shots and keep on marching forward as if nothing happened? That's another thing. Then it's a whole lot of things we could get into. How is his conditioning going to be with the additional weight on him? Because a lot of the reason why these guys tend to be in phenomenal shape is because they have to work their asses off to get this weight up off of them. Terence Crawford, he's eating. You know what I mean? He may be training hard, but is he training as hard as he would if he were to be making that weight cut to 154? That's what really gives these guys that grit. That's what really gives these guys, you know, that mental toughness in there, that mental fortitude. And I would never doubt Terence Crawford's mentality. He's one of the most he got one of the biggest hearts that I've ever seen, especially amongst this era. You know what I mean? That guy is his mindset is just different. So I would never question that. But it's like, how is his conditioning going to be with that additional weight on him? He might look good 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even in the 6. But when those championship rounds start to surface, and now you're talking about 9, 10, 11, 12, is his body going to respond how it's going to? I think what it really comes down to is, for one, how his body responds to that additional weight. I think he gave himself plenty of time. I think him skipping May, a lot of people said that might have been a problem and he should have fought in May. But I think that it could also be, you know, a blessing as well, because it gave him more time to, you know, acclimate. You know what I'm saying? Because people was talking about, oh, he should do a fight at 60. And yeah, that might have been a smart move. But at the end of the day, I think Terence Crawford is capable. He knows what he's capable of. He knows what it takes to, you know, be prepared for a fight. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely a lot of things that could, you know, help Terence Crawford in this situation, and there's some things that could hinder his performance. But you know, if he's getting prepared properly, if he has the right strength and conditioning people around him, you know, if he's listening to his body and just going about things without, you know, leaving any stones unturned, then he should have a solid performance whether he wins or loses. And to be honest with you, when Canelo Alvarez said that this is a lose-lose situation for him, I kind of understand it in a way, because besides like Terence Crawford's critics, I'm gonna be seeing many people bash Terence Crawford if he were to come up short, because we've seen multiple people move up multiple divisions and not do so well, and then they could go take that, oh, he dared to be great approach, and then they could just move along with their day. You see what I mean? So besides Terence Crawford's critics, I don't really see what he has to lose. I think he has everything to gain, in all honesty. And I think that was why Canelo Alvarez didn't want to give him an opportunity in the first place. But I guess money talks.
Oh, well, definitely.
Can I add to this too? What everything that Mizzou is saying. That's one of the reasons also why I do respect Terence Crawford, because we were, and this goes to what your whole speech, Claymore, from 3 shows ago, that we were living in this weird, you can't put up your O, the money's got to be right if I'm going to take a risk. The fact that this guy's, Terence Crawford was like, you know what, I am going to take the risk. Because Terence Crawford could have taken the Andre Ward way out. Andre Ward retired at 33. He was still in his peak, right? But right. I don't know why he retired. I don't know the man. I don't know. What I do know is Terence Crawford's about to be 38 by the time he fights Canelo, so he could have just retired at 41-0, double undisputed, arguably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He could have, if he wanted to, gotten a little bit more paydays because, and again, please, chat, do not kill me when I say this because I'm not trying to shit on another fighter. I'm just pointing out facts. But, let's not forget that Floyd Mayweather's last fight was against Andre Berto. Nothing against Andre Berto. I'm just saying that happened. So Terence Crawford could do the same, pick another champion or whatever, right? He could do that. He could have done a lot of things. He sure as hell didn't have to go all the way up to 168 and fight Canelo. I mean, to take his first L if that happens. So with that said, and this is why I always say this is a 50-50 fight, I don't want to shit on Canelo if he loses the same way I don't want to shit on Canelo if he wins, because it's wrong. Terence Crawford's the one that said, I want to take on this challenge, right? People forget that Roberto Duran gave Marvin Hagler a hell of a fight. And Duran came all the way up from 35, and he took that man 15 rounds. And it took all the 15 rounds for Hagler to win that decision, right?
Yeah.
People also forget that the same Roberto Duran, Shelton will know this, he probably was there to watch it. The same Roberto Duran at 37 years old, y'all.
Iran Barkley.
Beat Iran Barkley, who had just knocked out Tommy Hearns to win the title. And Iran Barkley, who's the uncle of Saquon, shout out to Philly. Iran Barkley was only 28, I believe, when he lost to Duran. So why isn't it possible for Terence Crawford to beat Canelo? But why would it be wrong if Canelo beats Terence Crawford? I really don't want to hear, see, it proved that he was bigger. No, man, you're taking it away.
Don't forget about Davey Moore.
I was going to say,
shit out of Davey Moore, too.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course, Shelton. Of course. Yes, sir. But you're not only just taking it away from the fighters, more importantly, Ray, you're taking it from the sport. You're taking it from boxing, man. It's like we're actually giving you best versus the best. We're giving it to you. Everybody who says, you know why I don't watch boxing? Is because the best aren't fighting the best. The best have been fighting the best for the last 2 years. It's actually happening in front of our eyes. And all you want to do is run your mouth and complain to get out of our sport, man. Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
They were never there in real time. In real time, right. They're not watching it as much as people would like to believe they're watching it. But that being said, though, it's an interesting segue. We talk about, Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, and if Terence Crawford wins, what he gains and what Canelo gains and doesn't gain on the back end of this. And Mazuma spoke to it being a lose-lose for Canelo Alvarez. But look, Canelo Alvarez has had a career and it's culminated up to this point. Terence Crawford has had a career and it's culminated up to this point. On the back end of a victory for Canelo Alvarez, what can he safely say that he wasn't able to say before? I mean, does this do anything at all in real time for Canelo Alvarez's legacy? And on the back end of a loss, does this do anything for Canelo Alvarez's legacy in a negative way, or is it just something that has he done so much that this fight doesn't matter? I think it's pretty obvious what happens to Terence Crawford's career on the back end of a victory. But pending the results of this fight, how does each one of these guys' legacy affected? So, good or bad or in between?
I got to get off soon, get out to go to work, but I'm gonna start with, if I can, the way this affects Canelo. So it affects Canelo if he wins, because he said it himself. This is his rematch with Floyd. This is how he's taking this fight. This is his way of getting into that ring and quieting the past history of himself of losing to Floyd Mayweather when he thought he had the opportunity to beat him. And experience tells the tale on this fight. I think when it goes to him losing, I think it's the same thing. Like, he just knows, like, you know what? I am who I am. I set my legacy. He's almost like a Julio Cesar Chavez. He'll ride off into the sunset still as who he is. Like, nobody criticized Julio Cesar Chavez for losing to De La Hoya not once but twice, and the second time even worse than he did the first time. I think he quit that fight too, if I'm not mistaken. But the fact is that Canelo knows what he's done is enough. I think they're the same age technically. Hear me out. One in the ring, one older by age legally, and one in the ring. One in the ring is age. So they're probably going in on the same footing, believe it or not, as we look at their stances. And I just think it's just a matter of Father Time just kicking in on one of them, and they just lose it. You know what I mean? Rather it be just the ring aging, or what he's at, 60-something fights or 70 fights, whatever. So that right there plays a part. And I think if he loses it is what it is. As far as Bud, what it does for him, it puts him in a great conversation for years to come. He'll forever be talked about. He'll be known as one of the greats in the sport, which he already is. I think both of them are already known as one of the greats. But it just puts him into a different market where he is so hated that people will now have to appreciate him for doing the unthinkable. And I think that's what it comes down to just for Bud. If Bud loses, you have to give him the award for trying. You know what I mean? As long as if he goes out on his shield and doesn't go out like Charlo did and just start running and feeling like he can't win, at least if he owns it and stays in the corner and sits on the bench and be like, you know what, I can't do this. This dude hit too hard. That's more respectable than running around for 8 rounds, 9 rounds, trying to avoid getting hit. I think I would like to see those type of responses. I mean, I don't give them credit for that, but at least a person that stands up and says, I know I can't do something because it's too high of a feat, at least they're being honest with the people. So if that does come to the situation of Bud Crawford, I mean, I just don't think that takes anything away from him. It just gives more ammo for these people, the detractors, to just throw shade. But other than that, I think it just shows it still shows his willingness to step up and challenge himself and be the best of boxing in this era, for sure.
No doubt. Mazuma, what does it put him?
What, if either guy win or lose?
Right. Well, yeah. If Canelo wins this fight, what does it do for Canelo in real time?
If he beats Crawford, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a good name to get on the resume for sure, but it's definitely gonna like, really thinking about it, I just can't. On paper, it's gonna be like, okay, Canelo Alvarez defeated Terence Crawford or whatever, but anybody who, I think they gonna half-ass the credit, man. I think they're gonna definitely half-ass the credit. I'm like, oh well, yeah, Crawford's best years was in X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like, that was a 2-weight class move up. 3, if you let Crawford tell a 3-weight class move up. You know what I'm saying? Like, he said that on the record is really a 3-weight class move up because he hasn't really even spent time at 154. But for the sake of argument, whatever, 2-weight class move up, right? So I think a lot of people are gonna discredit Canelo Alvarez from that, from that perspective. If Canelo Alvarez loses, then you just lost to somebody who moved up 2 weight classes, and and schooled you while you was undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. So that's why when Canelo Alvarez put out that interview and he said, "Yo, this is a lose-lose situation for me," I understood where he was coming from. Because it's like, all right, if you beat Crawford, oh, you were supposed to beat him. He moved up multiple weight classes to fight you. Blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? If you lose it, but okay, you just lost. Like, how good are you really? Because you know you just lost to somebody who came up from a weight class, went into a weight class he's never competed at, and took all of your belts while you was at the top of the division. So I understand where Terence Crawford is. Where Canelo Alvarez is coming from when he makes that statement, and I think that's exactly how it'll go. You know, depending on the outcome of the fight. I think Terence Crawford, like I said, if he gets defeated by Canelo, they're gonna be like, oh well, he dared to be great. He took the chance. Blah blah blah. People are gonna use that angle. Trust me, I've been around the YouTube game for a long time. I know exactly the angle that they're gonna take, and they're gonna go about their day. You know, outside of the Terence Crawford haters and stuff like that. But if he defeats Canelo Alvarez, all right, people are already talking about you got like his little brothers like Shakur saying that he one of the greatest ever, all that good stuff. If he beats Canelo Alvarez and he rides off into the sunset with that victory, that'll be what Roy Jones was supposed to do after he defeated John Ruiz. You see what I mean? And I think that'll definitely solidify him amongst this era. And people will be having conversations like, yo, this guy may be one of the greatest ever. And then, of course, you're going to get the conversation. Who greater, him or Floyd? Floyd ain't never do this. He ain't never. And that'll be a conversation that'll take place for years to come. So, that's just what I personally believe.
Love it, love it, love it. Shelton, OG, what does this do for you personally, actually? I want to know for you, as a fan of boxing. Terence Crawford wins this fight. What's your conversation with Terence Crawford? When you're talking about Terence Crawford in this era of boxing, where are you at? Is this enough for you? Where are you at with it?
If he beats Alvarez in this fight, he's the best of this generation. I'm not talking the Floyd generation. I'm talking about the Alvarez generation, the Bivol, the
Usyk,
the new generation, the Charlos, all these guys. He's the best of all of those guys. Thurman, all those guys. Because he's not in Floyd's generation. Floyd is a generation before him. So he's the best of this generation if he wins. If he loses, like my man just said, my man
Ray
Mazuma, is that his name? Mazuma TV? Yeah, Mazuma. Like my man Mazuma says, if he loses, one half is gonna say he dared to be great, the other half is gonna say he was trash anyway. He came up 2 weight classes, he was too little. All the stuff that makes no sense when you got 2 guys that's basically the same size. One guy's thicker and been at the division longer, but they're basically the same size guys. So I don't know why everybody thinks Canelo Alvarez is so big. He's not. A small guy. But yeah, I just think that if Bud wins, then you're gonna have some silly people saying he's number 5 all time ever, and that's crazy because there's too many fighters that did too many great things to say Bud is number 5 in the history of boxing. Now, you want to say top 15, top 20, I'm with you. But top 5, it takes a lot of that. And even going up 2 weight classes, being 3 division undisputed, you're not top 5 all time. I'm sorry. There's too many fighters and too many great fighters that a lot of people never heard of to say that he's top 5 all time. But it would be great for him. Maybe he would get the respect he finally get the respect he deserves, but I doubt it. Like my man said, they're gonna shit on it and say Canelo was old, he'd been through the wars, Bivol destroyed him, all that kind of weird stuff. You know how these people do. I've learned this on my little 59 years on this planet, bro. When somebody don't like you, there's nothing you can say, nothing you can do to make them like you. They just
don't. Talk on it, speak on it, preach. Guys, we're at the hour and 44 minute. I don't want to not get an opportunity to speak on this Moses Itauma topic. Let's segue out of this.
Wait. Do I get a turn on the Canelo thing just real quick?
On it?
No, okay, you passed me up, man. I thought you were gonna go to me, then go to you or something.
Oh, you know what it was? Ray jumped in and said he had to go, and he went. That's what it was. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm so happy that Shelton's with us because Shelton's lived through a lot of this generation. So this is what I'll say about again. This is such a big event that it's going to be free. It's going to be shown to 300 global subscribers, and the mainstream narrative to 300 million global subscribers. 300 million global subscribers. The mainstream narrative is the one that's going to matter the most because it's a story being told again, Claymore. It's the story of boxing being told again. And because the story of boxing is being told again to a whole group of people who have never even maybe seen boxing, I understand what Mazuma is saying about hardcore boxing fans. I understand what Mazuma is saying about even the haters, like what you're talking about, Shelton, or the people who nothing ever makes them happy. Just like you said, Shelton, and we as Raider fans, we know all about that, right? Nothing ever makes you happy, right? So with that said, to the mainstream, Claymore, the story that's being told is you have the pound for pound number 3 best fighter in the world against the pound for pound number 8 best fighter in the world, fighting in the biggest stage of the world. And I say this to say that history has already proven this to us, that if Canelo Alvarez loses, it just makes Terence Crawford that much greater. This is the whole, oh my goodness, Roberto Duran moved all the way up and he did something amazing. This is the Sugar Ray Leonard went from the couch and he was retired and he picked up the phone to call his brother to say, I think I can beat Marvin Hagler. I don't need a tune-up. I want to go right to him. That narrative is going to be right there for mainstream storytelling, right? But I say that to also say that if Terence Crawford loses, Shelton, you lived in an era where we saw Roberto Duran get knocked out by Tommy Hearns. That didn't make us not love Roberto Duran. We still believe Roberto Duran's one of the very best we've ever seen. And we never said, oh, well, he got knocked out by Tommy Hearns. Roberto Duran.
Even when he quit, we still loved him.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Is if you're great at boxing and if you're great at your athletic sport, you're just great. And people who won't hate on you will just believe you to be great. And the mainstream people who are going to be told the story that Terence Crawford is one of the best fighters they'd ever seen, that will be told the story to Canelo Alvarez, one of the best fighters they've ever seen. None of the mainstream people are going to hate on it. And if anything, it's going to open a whole new book, Claymore, to all these new boxing fans, the ones that are going to be playing the Ring magazine game, like I told you with Madden and how Madden made the Madden video game made NFL famous. The Ring magazine game, brother, I'm telling you, the announcement's coming soon. And when it does, you're going to go, see, Angelo told me this was going to happen. So like I said, man, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. So win or lose, I think boxing wins overall.
No doubt.
Yo, Clay, real quick, Clay. I actually got to get ready for my live, man. So I'm gonna get up out of here. All right.
Okay, no doubt.
I appreciate you, Clay. Next time you come on and I'm available, I'm right on here with you, brother. I appreciate you very much. Shout out to everybody that's in the building, man. I'm about to get started on Mazuma TV. Reyes Boxing, very nice to meet you, brother. I hope to see you soon. All right.
No doubt. Appreciate you.
Have a blessed, beautiful one. Yes, sir.
Salute to you, family. Yeah, man. Listen, man. We'll segue into the closer, which is Moses Itauma, Mike Tyson of this era. Yay or nay? Are we doing too much? Has he gotten nowhere near earning that yet? Is it too much to bring up a legend like Mike Tyson, an influencer, a trendsetter, and Mike Tyson to a young bull, 20-year-old, up-and-coming, talented fighter from the UK who's putting in the work that he's been putting in to get to this point? Has he even earned the right to be in a conversation like this? Well, let's have it anyway. Let's have the conversation anyway. Why not? That's a great thing about America. That's a great thing about YouTube and creating content. We can speculate our way into a bliss space of just intoxication, right? When we're talking about boxing, we can entertain anything because anything can happen in YouTube land. So what say you? What say you, my brother, when it comes to this conversation? What are we talking about right now? Have at it.
I love Moses Itauma. Oh, talk of SD, by the way, for anybody who's saying the narrative that, well, you do have to have Netflix to watch Canelo Crawford. Let me first just say again, and let me end with this, with the promotions of this. I have never seen more boxing promotion being done on a UFC or a WWE platform than I've ever seen in my entire life. The WWE is pushing it, the UFC is pushing it, and the NFL is about to push it week 1, just so that you guys know. The NFL is going to be pushing. So this will basically be free because you can go to any bar or any household and it's going to be shown on so many different televisions even if you don't have a Netflix subscription, I'll guarantee you there'll be a restaurant, an Applebee's. Right. Somebody's gonna have this. So, and that's, by the way, segues into what Moses Itauma needs. You and I know who he is, Claymore. You and I do, right? Yeah. The boxing public now is starting to find out who this is, but you'd be surprised, man. There's a lot of casual boxing fans that don't know who Moses is. They have no idea about this 20-year-old 6'5", 255 pounds behemoth
arm reach.
Yes, exactly, right? But you know what? I remember in basketball, and in college basketball in particular, in where Shaq was sort of a folklore a little bit, right? But everybody was talking about Christian Laettner. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Remember that time?
Yeah.
Right? Everybody was talking about Christian Laettner this, Christian Laettner that. And that's because Christian Laettner was playing with Duke. Right. With Duke basketball, and it was a more promoted in the United States, and college basketball, it was more promoted. But man, when Shaq came into the league, bro, when the Orlando Magic took him, boy, did he open up the floodgates for Shaq mania and, breaking the backboard and the whole bit. And that's what Moses is doing right now. Moses is breaking backboards, bro.
I like the comparison.
He's starting to be in that folklore story of, is it real that there's a 20-year-old who hasn't even gotten to his grown man strength yet that exists, that is just knocking everyone out? And who exactly is he knocking out? So do we compare him to Mike Tyson now? Well, as boxing aficionados, I would say we should, because I love Mike Tyson. But on Mike Tyson's 14th fight, I think he was fighting in San Jose somewhere against some dude in some small arena. Mike Tyson on his 14th fight did not fight in front of the esports global population in Riyadh on pay-per-view. We haven't seen that yet. So I would say that we are currently looking at the next Mike Tyson, and thank you for boxing that's about to become free, because we're about to start seeing Moses for free anyways. And by the way, for any of you who didn't buy the pay-per-view, go ahead and go on Google or YouTube, type in Moses Itauma, and you're going to see his most recent fight for free anyways. It's that quick. It is, because it's already on Ring Magazine. Yep. It's already on Turkey's YouTube. It's already on DAZN. It's everywhere already, bro.
Yeah. Definitely not worried about that thing moving units or anything like that. No, I think there's a good chance that Moses Itauma is going to get that Mike Tyson, deserves that Mike Tyson energy, because he's coming into an era of this new way of delivering fights. You don't have to take a chance on Moses Itauma. He's going to be right there for you to just watch. A lot of free fights he's going to be on. You don't have to sit there and be like, God, am I going to pay for this? You're going to get a chance to see him in a way that you haven't been able to see fighters in over 10, 15 years at this point in this sport. So I think that it is a legitimate conversation to talk as far as like influence, as far as like mystique, as far as like what he brings to the table, wanting to see knockouts. For the heavyweight division, I think he's going to help. There's a good chance that Moses Itauma may actually be the front runner for the whole entire heavyweight division, and maybe even for boxing. Because as the heavyweight division goes, so does boxing. It looks like we have a future star in the heavyweight division. I don't know anybody that I would pick right now that I think could beat Moses Itauma, except for somebody like an Alexander Usyk, who's on his way out the sport at 38 years old. If you're looking for a new fighter to put your faith in the heavyweight division, it's hard to argue Moses Itauma. It's hard.
Mick? Is that Mick that you're looking at? Which one are you looking at?
$1 for a prospect. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who that guy is.
Oh, I see what he's saying. So Holtz, I don't know how to say your handle, but what you're talking about is he's talking about the pay-per-view. And my point was the night of the fight, as soon as the fight was over, anyways, it was already free. So again, man, I mean, like, yes, we can easily complain about, oh man, that wasn't worth $49. And again, that was only in the United States. Outside of the United States, it was $19. But having also said that, the minute the fight was over, it was Mike Tyson-esque in the sense that you could have gone to Instagram and watched the entire fight. You could have gone to YouTube highlights and watched the fight, because the entire fight was that round and him looking spectacular and knocking this person out. So you really didn't have to pay the $50 if you didn't want to.
And just caught the highlight and maybe miss 10 seconds of the fight potentially.
Exactly. And again, when we're talking about pay-per-views just in general, I thought the entire fight card was really good. I mean, again, you didn't have to pay for the fight card. I'm just saying that, yeah, Ray Ford was great. Nick Ball fight was very close. Adelaide versus Philip Hrgovic had round of the year, right? But back to Moses Itauma, or Itauma, however it's pronounced, Mick. Sorry. Having said that, I think that again, it's so cool to see this happening right now, because there are a lot of great heavyweights. Unfortunately, we're still waiting for our American heavyweight to come out of the woodwork, right? But there are that the two that come to mind, and maybe correct me, Claymore, if I'm wrong, but Richard Torres, who's the silver medalist, he's the one being brought up by Top Rank, right? He's kind of like, would you say, the Tommy Morrison sort of guy, kind of coming up right now? Maybe, right? And then there's Jared Anderson, who fumbled the bag by getting knocked out by Bakole in BMO Stadium last August in LA, right? But he's still around. He's only 25. He's still around, right? He's still around, 25 years old.
A heavyweight, a prospect heavyweight coming up right now. Something Edwards. I can't remember his name.
Are you talking about Joshua Edwards?
Yeah, that's the one who's
fighting. Yeah. That's the Rocket from he's from Texas, Houston. He's from Houston. Yeah. Right. Joshua Edwards, 3-0, and he was an Olympian also. Golden Boy has him right now. But again, we're waiting, right? We're waiting. In the meantime, we got this killer in Moses, who is 14 fights in already. And we're just loving every minute of this ride. There's also Tara Moana. There's Bakhtir Jalalov. There's a lot of, again, it's all, and this is again what I've said earlier in the show. It's very upsetting that the UFC could show a bunch of international fighters like Zhilei Zhang, Valentina Shevchenko, Alexa Grasso. Like, none of these fighters are American, man. And there's a whole millions of fan base for them. So why can't we do the same for boxing? Let's show Joseph Parker on American TV. Let's show, Agit Kabayel on American TV. Let's show Frank Sanchez, right? Let's show Fabio Wardley. Let's show Justice Huni, because the heavyweight division's better than it's ever been. Would you agree, Claymore, that think a period of time where there's so much competition in the heavyweight division that you really don't know? You could play favorites, but you really don't know who could beat who. It was just in February, bro, that Bakole was the baddest man in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, you might be
and then
right.
He got knocked out.
You might be right. You might be right. You legitimately might be right when it comes to that, because it's always
and I want you to think about this era too, and this is why I bring this up, right? Let's go all the way to the 2012 Olympics, all the way to now, right? So, like I said, man, there are medalists that we still have fighting. Philip Hrgovic was a silver medalist. Joe Joyce was a gold medalist. Zhilei Zhang was a silver medalist. All of these cats are still fighting to this day, man. So I'm just saying, like, in terms of heavyweight talent and experience, whether they're old or they're young, globally speaking, around the world. I just told you that there's a guy fighting on the YouTube free portion of Canelo Crawford that's a two-time bronze medalist, 2012, 2016, 15-0 with 14 knockouts, right? He's fighting against Jermaine Franklin, the American. And Jermaine Franklin doesn't suck. Jermaine Franklin doesn't suck. So try to think of a period of time, Have you ever seen it where there's so much depth in challenges in the heavyweight division?
Nah. It's interesting. I really don't. Even like I said, there's always been a fighter. There's always been the standouts in the heavyweight. There's been eras with more standouts like Lennox Lewis and Holyfield and Tyson during that time period. But it wasn't that deep as much as we'd like to believe it was. You know what I mean? I mean, you got Rockman and Buster Douglas and, you know, Riddick Bowe and these fighters during that time period. But right now, I don't know. Around that time was a pretty interesting time period with Riddick, Lennox, Holyfield, Mike Tyson kind of in and out of, you know, his situation at the time. James Toney kind of showed up there a little bit for a little while too.
But James Toney was coming from the lower weight class, so
exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Yeah,
he was coming up in weight, but he's still. Yeah, you're right, man. Right now, it's crazy right now because we go down the list from all the way from as high as Alexander Usyk all the way down through Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois, Ajit Caballel, Martin Bakoli. You could say Zhang Zhang if you want to. You can say Deontay Wilder if you want to. You can get into the Philip Ergoviches. You can get into the Moses Itumas. You can get into all these up and coming Jared Anderson, Jarrell Big Baby Miller, Andy Ruiz. You can go for a while. A while. It's pretty deep.
And I'm talking about just talent. And here's the other part. Talent that's being showcased globally to all of their countries. Okay. So a regular fan might not know who F.A. Ajagba is, but Africa does.
Yeah.
And Africa's got a lot of eyeballs, right? Bakole's well known, Zhang's well known, Fabio Wardley's the Deontay Wilder of the UK right now. Right? Philip Hergovich, right? Anthony Joshua still around. Daniel Dubois, bro, he's only 27 years old. Daniel Dubois, he's still there.
Through a little rebuilding phase right now. I don't know what they got going on over there with the separation with Don Charles, but we got to kind of see what they're going to do. But definitely a talented fighter. Definitely. Right. Colorado Spock says, Clay Moraine, why is the UK consistently producing better heavyweights than the US? I think we spoke about this a little bit earlier, just off the strength of the marketability, market value of how do you sell boxing to an athlete who's 6'4", 6'3", 6'5", 300 pounds, 200, 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds when he can go to football, when he goes to another sport. It's hard. That's why the American heavyweight boxing scene has suffered, because there's no talent willing to come over to heavyweight boxing.
Yeah, and a lot of it too, again, is you will do what you see. As a child, you will get. There was a lot of children that became boxers that were inspired by Muhammad Ali, right? Even Muhammad Ali says he was inspired by Joe Louis, right? But we talked about how when you got to the 90s, who were the ones inspiring these kids to become great boxers, right? Who were the heavyweights that were inspiring the kids to become great boxers? So we started losing track, and unfortunately, again, Deontay Wilder wasn't shown enough to inspire the regular mainstream to do it. But I keep going because this is fun when I ask you that question about there's so much talent. Agit Kabayel, bro, is only 30 years old, 26-0, undefeated. He's only 30. Joseph Parker's not even that old, right? He's only, I believe, 32 or 33 at this point. And Parker's already won the belt, lost the belt, won the belt. Alexander Usyk is 38. But then, I mean, if you really go down, we keep going. Like I said, Frank Sanchez. For example, do you think Michael Hunter's a pretty good heavyweight?
Yes.
Pretty good, right? Okay. How about hold on, David Adelaide? Even though he just lost, but David Adelaide's pretty good heavyweight, right? TKV still in there. And I mentioned Bakadir Jalalov earlier, 2-time gold medalist so far. We just saw Serenko lose, but Serenko's still pretty good, right? Justice Hooney is Australia's best heavyweight. He was beating the brakes out of Fabio Wardley until he got knocked out in the 10th round, right? Guido Vianello, bro. Where's he been?
I haven't seen him in a little minute.
Yeah. Guido beat, what happened to Guido? He beat Ajagba and then he lost to Torres. He just lost to Torres.
Exactly.
A couple of months ago, right? But even when we start talking about the Cubans, bro, Denier and Lanier Perro, the brothers, they're with one of them's with MVP. He's fighting this weekend, right? You got Dave Allen, who's the old school style heavyweight, who just knocked out oh man, what the hell is his name from the UK? He just beat Fisher, Johnny Fisher. He just knocked out Johnny Fisher, and now he's gonna beat he's gonna fight Makhmadov. I'm forgetting the Russian's name from Canada, right? But then there's that guy. There's still, like you said, Jarrell Big Baby Miller still there. Andy Garcia still, or Andy Garcia. Oh, my bad, bro. You know who I mean. Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is still there, and Derek Chisora is still there. And dare I say, Deontay Wilder, brother, is still around. Deontay Wilder is still around, man.
Yeah. But I feel you. Is he still around, or he's still around? He's still lurking. I know y'all out there lurking, looking for that super fight. It is what it is. But look, it's about that time for me. I got to get up early. I got to go to the gym, and then I got to get back up on this thing in the morning to do this all over again. Believe it or not. So the time is ticking on me, and I'm sure somebody could use a little cuddle time upstairs. We'll find out. She might be knocked out too, but.
Well, we appreciate everybody that got a chance to watch our impromptu live for tonight. Thank you, Claymore, for inviting me to co-host. It was really fun to have everybody. I've never been on the panel with Mazuma before. Right. Shelton's always great, bro. So thank you to Papa Shelton there for coming through, and Ray's always great to have on. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate everyone in the chat. I saw Jackie Hernandez. I saw Mick. I saw a bunch of the folks in there. So appreciate the chat. Appreciate you guys all liking and subscribing. Claymore Rain, please do that. We appreciate you. And Claymore, tomorrow is it 9:30 Eastern time?
Probably 10 to 10:30. The thumbnail will tell it all. I don't know where. Probably 10:30.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna sleep in a little bit. Then I gotta go to I get that sleep for that recovery. I got a hard day at the gym tomorrow, and then
all right,
yeah, we're going at it when I get in.
So 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. That would be 7:30 Pacific for all of you boys and girls. Great content, Claymore. Great conversation. Appreciate all your knowledge, all your intelligence, all your eloquence in talking about this great sport of boxing that we all love, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody in the building, man. Don't forget to hit the like button on your way out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, take an opportunity to do that. Don't waste that opportunity. Hit your notifications so you are getting notified when we're doing these pop-ups, man. It is what it is. It's your boy Rain. It's that ATP Combat Media Show. Until the next one, at this point,